guys, it's Merce. Welcome back to Harpies in the Trees. Today I'm going to be talking about my August TBR list. Yeah, I know, it's almost the end of August and I have not made a lot of headway with this list. I'm a very slow reader, so this August TBR is now going to be September. But I have a lot of cool books on here that I wanted to talk about and share with you. I've got them from multiple different places: Book Depository, Doucemon's books, book crates, recommendations from Instagrammers and booktubers. So I have a lot of cool stuff here that I want to get through, that I really want to read. I also tried to do something different this time. I am usually a one book reader at a time. I know a lot of people do read multiple books, and that's something that I don't do. I don't know. I just never really thought about it. Maybe I'm just someone who wants to focus in on one thing and then move to the next, but I thought this would be a really fun experiment if I could just see what it's like to read, 6 different books at one time. I can't read any faster, and that's like the one thing I guess that's kind of frustrating about reading, is it's like you could read faster, you could skim and just kind of like glance over the pages a little bit and get an idea of what's happening. I really don't want to do that. I really like to be wrapped up in the story, and I want to see all of the details and get to know all of the characters. What do you guys do? Do you guys do something special to make sure that you're reading every day, or how did you find a way to get your reading game really high? Is it a type of, is it scheduling, or is it just discipline, or is it, I don't know. What is it? Tell me your secrets for reading. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw that I do have a list here on my channel. It's a playlist. It's called Atmosphere for Reading. And it's just a playlist that has a bunch of different environs, So like there's one that's a library, so you like library sounds, but it's all ambient. There's a cemetery, there's Howl's Moving Castle. It's like one of my favorite movies, so I threw that in there. And there's like some creepy ones, some ghostly ones. And so I have this list, so if you want to take a look at it, I find that definitely listening to environments that are ambient really keep me focused. They keep me focused reading, and they keep me in the moment, in the mood. So I don't know, check it out, tell me what you think. Let me know if you have any like really cool soundtracks that you listen to for reading, and I'll add them. Okay, so the very first book I want to talk about that's on my TBR and has been on my TBR for a minute is Once and Future. This is not a horror book, it is a sci-fi. It is a sci-fi retelling of King Arthur. Ever since I was a kid, I loved King Arthur, and I love watching any documentary on it and any movie. It's just one of these very special legends for me. I really want to read this because it's a retelling of King Arthur. However, King Arthur is a woman in this book, so even more fucking rad, right? I mean, that just speaks to 14-year-old me like so hard. And I did start reading it. I'm on page 17, which isn't very far. I fell asleep, not because it was boring. It's actually pretty fun so far. It has some humor to it, and I'm liking what I'm reading, so I'm gonna keep going with it, and I'm really pleased. Really pleased. And if you're wondering where I got this from a Limit Crate when I had that subscription. Book 2. Nosferatu by Joe Hill. Everybody has been reading this book, knows of this book, wants this book, read this book. I mean, it's just all over the place. And I started reading a couple pages, and then it was another time I was reading like at midnight or something and just couldn't do it. I haven't heard anyone say anything bad about it, so I'm excited. I haven't even really read the back because I'm going in blind. Like I just don't really want to know what it's about, and I just want to go in, and because everyone loves it, I'm willing to kind of take that risk. So we'll see. Nosferatu, Joe Hill. This one, Warm Bodies. Okay, this book came in the Abominable Book Club subscription that I have, and at first I was like, I don't know. I hate romance and I don't like zombies. So it's like two themes I don't like. But I've been talking to a few other people who've read this book on Bookstagram and YouTube, and they liked it. So I'm gonna give it a chance. I did notice that this was a used book. You get one used book and your book crate for Abominable Book Club, and I did find a I don't know what this is. It's like a train ticket that somebody was using as a spot. They didn't finish the book, but it's really short. It's like 230 pages, and it has some like really nice book plates in here or illustrations. Has some cool stuff like that. So the next one is Night Circus. I've already gotten into a big chunk here. This is a book that people have been telling me to read for a really long time. Like, just people I've met randomly would tell me, oh, have you read Night Circus? And I'd always be like, no, I don't read anything anymore. So when I went to Deuceman's Books, I saw this and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Everyone has told me about this book my whole life, so I'm just gonna have to read it. And I have to tell you, it's amazing. It's beautiful. I'm in 142 pages and it is just, it's lovely. It's beautiful and magical and really interesting, and I really can't wait to finish this. So this was recommended by Jason's Weird Reads. I really love Jason's reviews, so I decided to pick up Audrey's Door. I've read 16 pages, but I stopped because I don't know, there was this antiquated racist term that the author uses in here that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. She'd have to share the kitchen with 50 Chinamen. It's kind of a weird thing to say. First, it's a really antiquated term. Second, it's racist. And I'm half Asian, so it just made me feel kind of weird and uncomfortable. So I kind of just stopped reading at that point because it sort of tainted it for me a bit. But I'm gonna keep reading it because it might be an aspect of her personality and it might be some, component to the story. So I'm gonna keep reading it. I just thought that was kind of weird and it kind of threw me off for a minute. The Mobsters Lament is a book that I picked up based on its cover alone when I was in Deuceman's. I was on a little shopping spree with a birthday gift card, so I was going a little crazy. And I just saw this and I was like, this looks really cool. It has Louis Armstrong in here as a character. It's it's kind of like a pulp noir crime novel. But I did look it up on Goodreads real quick and supposedly it has a lot of good reviews. So, New York City, 1947, crime, the city that never sleeps. Sounds like a really good premise for me. Currently, I am reading this one as of right now. And I can't stop reading it, honestly. This has been recommended by Heylittlethrifter. A lot of other people have reviewed this book with positive reviews, so I was like, I like this whole concept of an indie filmmaker going to make a documentary about a cult in different locations in the US and in Europe and running into some supernatural trouble. So that sounded really fun to me, and I have to tell you, it is really good. It's really good. I convinced my boyfriend to let me read some of this to him before we're going to sleep because I don't know. Sometimes reading things aloud is a different reading experience. I feel like I'm a little bit more engaged in a way that's different than when I'm just reading in my head. So he let me read it to him, and he lets me do that on occasion a lot actually, but usually he just like falls asleep. But this time he was awake and paying attention and was really interested in the story too. So for someone who loves horror and someone who doesn't love horror, both of us really are interested in where this book is going. Next one is The King in Yellow. So there's a lot of reasons why I got this book. One, I did a video on what is Gothic horror, and The King in Yellow was one of these books that was referenced as Gothic horror. And this book was also an inspiration or had something to do with the first season of True Detective. And so it's kind of been, I don't know, since then it's been sort of floating, in the pond. And I think a lot of people were kind of paying attention to it a little bit because it has this esoteric, culty reputation around it. It claims that if you read this book or you read parts of it or whatever, that you will go mad. And I'll read this like little intro to you. Beware reading this book. You do so at your own peril. To allow your eyes to wander freely over the text could bring disastrous results. Your mind, your personality, and your life will be affected in a most dramatic fashion. The King in Yellow of the title is in fact a printed play script which takes a hypnotic, malevolent hold on those who read it. To explain further would not be fair, for it will rob you of the surprises and the creeping horror found in these unusual stories, and I really wouldn't want you to miss out on the pleasing terror that awaits you. No, sir. So I did start this, and I was reading it. I got to page 14. I don't know what's happening. You know when you're a little kid and you're like holding an adult's hand, you're like walking in a building or you're going somewhere, but you don't know where you're going. You don't really know what the hell's going on. That's what I feel like right now with this book. So we're almost there. We got 4 more books to go. My Best Friend's Exorcism. Look at this cover. Just look at it. I mean, it's perfect in every way. It has balloons. It has an upside down cross. It has someone falling from a watchtower, a white owl, some, you know, red-eyed crows. It has a full moon and, you know, roller skates. So this is one of the really good things when you find trustworthy bookstagrammers and booktubers to follow, and you see that like there's an algorithm of like all of them kind of talking about the same book and enjoying the same book. It's pretty safe to say that you're gonna have a good time. You're probably gonna like it. And in this case, for this one, that was another reason why I picked it up. I was just like so tired of everyone talking about it and I didn't have it, so I had to get it. I have not cracked this open at all. Is their friendship powerful enough to beat the devil? I really like this little blurb here. It says, like an unholy hybrid of Beaches and the Exorcist. So this is gonna be fun, I think, and I can't wait to read it. Okay, this one, The Devil in the White City. I've been working on this one for a couple months now, shamefully. This book is a little hard for me. So Devil in the White City is about basically the American serial killer H.H. Holmes, and also the building of the World's Fair in Chicago. This is like 1891, 1893, around there. And it is really well researched and really, really interesting, but it's a little dense. It's super dense because the main meat of this book is about how the World's Fair is getting erected. And there's a lot of political things that are happening here just between the committees and the architects and the city themselves. There's a lot of politics between New York and Chicago and France. Also, because before this World's Fair, France had like some amazing exposition that nobody can forget about, I guess, and the Americans want to really just outdo the French. So reading through, so Eric Larson, he really is, he's really giving you accurate and non-fictionalized information. And when I say that, I mean like, you know, he'll give you the date and the time and what transpired based on records that they have and they know, and basically that's it. Like there's nothing more. There's no other, he's not placing upon it any type of romanticism or idealism or fictional relationships or situations. He's really just giving you the historical information that we have that would tell us about everything we would need to know about making a fair, working with committees and the politicians and the budgets and like all that kind of stuff. And it's really, really interesting. But I really just wanted to read about H.H. Holmes, and you know, his story is a lot smaller. We don't really know a lot about him, you know, so I think that this story was there to kind of give you a sense of like what Chicago was like and what the city was like and whatever, and that's really cool. But it's been a slower read for me than normal. It is really giving me this fabulous concept of Chicago at that time. Last but not least, The Devouring Gray. This one came also in my Abominable Book Club crate for August. The Devouring Gray is based in New York, upstate New York, and some bodies are discovered in the woods, and there are some children that seem to have some type of inheritance in the sense of like they are all children of founder families. So there's some There's something here with the bloodline. So this one I have not peeked into at all yet. One thing that I did notice is that reading the first couple of chapters of different books was really exciting. It was like, I'm not really sure how to explain it. I guess it was sort of like, I don't know, sticking your finger in the frosting a little bit, like something like that, you know, I don't know. So this is my TBR list, my August TBR list that is now September and probably will also be November because I know how I roll and it's really slow. But I have a lot to read here, so I probably shouldn't buy any more books. But let me know if you've read Audrey's Door, Once and Future, what she found in the woods, because I'm curious to see like what everybody else thinks about them. I haven't really seen much about it, so you know, let me know. Maybe I'll bump them up, you know? So that's it for me. I hope everything is going really, really well for you. Thanks for stopping by today, and I hope you have a really great weekend. I'll talk to you next time.